My name's Doug Gregory. I'm one of the third-year residents at Maine Medical Center, and we're putting together this video as kind of a primer, sort of an introduction to some of the gear and some of the things that you need to expect on the wilderness medicine elective. I was an instructor last year, and some of the things that you're about to see laid out on this table are most of the items that I took last year, with a few additions and a few subtractions. There are 3 components to the trip, as you know. There's an alpine section, followed by a river section where you're floating down a section of the Green River, and then that's followed by a hiking section in the desert of Canyonlands down near Moab. The probably most rigorous and gear-intensive part of the trip is the alpine section. And so in this little part of the video, that's mainly what I want to focus on. Because there are a lot of things that you will be able to carry on into the other sections with just a few additions for the changing climate. So let's dive in and get a look at what all you're going to be carrying on this trip. First and foremost is you got to have a big backpack. We're going to be carrying probably between 60 and 80 pounds of gear up the hill, and it's expected that you'll be carrying not only your own stuff, but everybody's going to have to share equally in carrying a lot of the group gear as well. This is about a 6,000 cubic inch pack, so I would recommend somewhere between 5,000 and 6,000. And just to remind you that there is a gear sheet that was included in your packet, so feel free to review that, as I probably will leave out a couple of things here. I just want to hit the highlights. Make sure that it's a comfortable pack that fits you well. This is probably not the time to run out and borrow your grandfather's 40-year-old backpack. Make sure that's something that fits well, that's comfortable, because you're going to be spending a fair amount of time in it. The hike up the hill to where we camp is about 3 miles long, and it is uphill, and so you'll be carrying your backpack, and then we'll also be dragging sleds full of gear, because there's a significant amount of food and group gear that's going to be needed to support us up there for a week. In addition to your backpack, things to help along the way, a good pair of trekking poles. If you have a pair, great. If you don't, they'll be able to be rented at REI. And most of the things I'll talk about, I'll tell you when that you can rent them and when you can't. These are fairly expensive at REI, but feel free to bring your own if you have them. Next up is a good pair of double plastic boots. If you're an experienced alpinist and you have a nice pair of insulated leather boots and you know how to insulate those and waterproof them like with a super gator, that's probably reasonable, but otherwise I would stick to double plastic. Maintenance is a little bit lower. They'll keep your feet nice and warm, and they're easier to keep dry for a long period of time. As you can see, these are pretty heavy, and again, you can rent these at REI if you don't have a pair already. We'll be traveling on snowshoes, and these are my snowshoes, but again, these are the exact same model that they carry at REI, so you can pick those up in Salt Lake City as well. We'll be spending a lot of time in these, and there's really nothing fancy about this, just kind of a basic pair of snowshoes. For sleeping, let me reiterate this a couple of times. You'll be sleeping on snow. You'll be in a 4-season tent, but you'll be sleeping on snow. Our campsite is basically carved out of snow on the side of the mountain. So it ends up being fairly comfortable, but that seems to be something that each year people weren't quite ready for, is the fact that you'll wake up on snow, you'll get out of your sleeping bag, you'll be on snow. So things to keep you warm while you're up there. A good 4-season tent, obviously, to keep the wind, rain, potentially snow. Hopefully we'll have good weather. But you need a good insulating ground pad. These are two different ones. One is an inflatable. It's got some closed cell foam. This is a thermarest, but then it also takes some air. It's pretty comfortable, a little on the heavy side. Alternative is just a nice generic blue foam pad. Super cheap. They'll cut it to length for you. And a nice thing about this is that it's nice to have something to sit on, because sitting on snow obviously gets pretty cold. And we carve out little benches and things like that at night to sit on when we're eating dinner. In fact, our dinner accommodations are pretty nice. But you need something to insulate yourself. So it's nice to have, even if you just take a thermarest like this, it's nice to just carve off like a little piece of closed cell foam like this to sit on to keep yourself warm. Other thing, you need a really nice warm sleeping bag. This is a down bag. I would probably recommend trying something synthetic unless you already have a down bag and you're experienced using it. Something around 0 degrees is necessary. One nice thing is if you have a 20-degree, more of like a summer or fall bag, you can get a zip-in liner for it. They're relatively inexpensive, and that'll help keep you a little bit warmer. While we're camping up there, it's nice to have something other than your double plastic boots to sit around in, eat dinner at night, breakfast in the morning, so that you can let these guys dry out as much as possible at night. And for this, I would recommend getting like a pair of down booties. Again, I got these at REI. Pretty basic, pretty inexpensive, but keep your feet really nice and toasty warm. And if you're a cold sleeper, you can even sleep with these in your sleeping bag. In terms of eating, we will be cooking group meals every night, and these will range from mostly soup type things, mixes, some chicken, a lot of beans and rice, cheese, and tortillas. But trust me, you'll get plenty to eat, and the food is actually pretty good, what we make. Each night, different groups will participate in helping the cooking. In terms of what you need a mug of some sort, either for your morning coffee or also to eat out of. You need a bowl and some sort of utensil. I like the generic spork. If you are the kind of person that also likes to heat up hot beverages, we will be heating hot beverages for everybody with group water. But if you've got a nice little lightweight pot or a little tiny stove, it's helpful to bring that along because it never hurts to have a little bit of extra stuff. Every day you'll be consuming a very, very large amount of water. This is just a 1 liter Nalgene bottle. I would suggest you have at least 2 or 3 of these. You need to be able to carry 2 or 3 liters at a time. It's a little bit easier in the alpine section because we have lots of snow to melt, or we actually have access to an open water lake where we'll be, excuse me, where we'll be purifying water. But on the desert section, you've got to be able to carry a very large amount of water. All right, let's talk about clothes. What are you going to be wearing the majority of the time you're up there? Well, most of the day you'll spend in your double plastic boots. Over the top of these is a nice pair of removable gaiters. This just helps keep the snow out of the top of your boots and out from the inside of your pants. If you've never used these before, they basically just wrap around your leg and fit down over the top of the boot like this. Next, socks that go inside your boots. 3 pairs of thick mountaineering socks. You'll have to purchase these, and I recommend having a pair of sock liners on the inside. So 1 or 2 pairs of thin, either silk or Cool Max type sock liners are great. You'll need 3 pairs of these, and the thicker the better, because double plastic boots, though warm and comfortable, they're designed to fit a wide range of feet, which means they unfortunately don't fit everybody's foot well. So be prepared with some blister stuff. We will be for sure.